In my experience, being 70% ready is plenty, and I'm not alone in thinking this way. Former U.S. Secretary of State Colin Powell is a big fan of the 40-70 rule, which says that you need no less than 40% and no more than 70% of the available information to make a good choice.
Welcome to Philosopher Insights, the podcast that delivers wisdom in minutes a day that you can put into practice daily and strive to master over a lifetime.
The podcast committed to sharing ideas that encourage you to bridge the gap between who you are today and the person you aspire to be in the future.
Hi, my name is Herb Lamba, and welcome to my podcast, where I will share practical insights from the world's best authors.
Knowledge isn't power. Applied knowledge is. The quest to become the best version of you starts right now.
Hi, and welcome to Philosopher Insights. My name is Herb Lamba. Today we're taking a look at Jump. Dare to do what scares you in business and life. The author of the book is Kim Perell. The book is published in 2022. I want to share a number of my favorite insights from this book, starting with Look Before You Leap, Raise Your Confidence, Been Rejected Lately, The When-Then Trap, The 40-70 Rule, 1-Year Succession Plan, and then finish it with Ready, Set, Jump. So let's start with the introduction. Quote, "Every great story starts with a jump. A risk, leaping into the unknown, not knowing exactly how you will land. Whether you're jumping from a place of greatness, from rock bottom, or you're simply stuck, you can absolutely create positive, transformative changes in your life. You must be willing to trust yourself and take the leap. Before you dive in, it's important to know what type of jump you're taking and why. As a seasoned jumper, I've noticed that there are 3 main reasons people take big leaps. Reason number 1, you have no other choice. The survival jump. You are forced to change, you've been fired, bankrupted, or had a life-changing event, or some other environmental force has you in its clutches. This is less of a choice and more of an emergency exit. Reason number 2, you see an opportunity. You want to change because you have a vision. You see a way to improve your life through bold action. You're stable or relatively happy now, but you have big dreams, a business idea, or a vision of how you want life to be. Reason number 3, you're stuck. This is called the stagnant jump. You're considering a change because you stagnated, are bored, or feel unfulfilled. You're comfortable, but not challenged. Think of it as a plateau. Here's a little secret. Your reason for jumping doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is that you have the courage to take the leap." End quote. Have you ever felt stuck in a situation you know needs to change, but the comfort and the safety of your current life just keeps you there? That's what this book is all about. So many people are sitting on their hands, wanting something different, but just too afraid to actually make that jump. Perell's insights could be just the motivation someone needs to finally take that leap. I'm sharing insights from Kim Perell's book, hoping it resonates with someone who sees themselves in her shoes, knowing change is needed, but feeling stuck. If that's you, her perspective could give you the push to find courage and go for your dreams, whatever that may be. Her words might just inspire you to take a chance. Insight number 1, look before you leap. Quote, "Before you take a life-changing leap, I want you to make sure you're prepared to jump. I promise that the last thing I want to do is make you hesitate. My whole philosophy is that execution is the key to success, and I value progress over perfection. I want you to do, to start, and to act. But I don't want you to fall on your face or hit a wall just as you're building momentum. Changing your life is about overcoming fear and shifting your mindset, but it's also important to look before you leap. Jumping doesn't have to be an all-or-nothing proposition. You don't have to quit your day job before you start planning your startup launch. There is nothing wrong with having a backup plan, or a safety net, or both. Taking the leap doesn't mean making rash decisions that leave you with no security." End quote. Now I'm instantly reminded of one of the craziest stories of jumping I have ever heard. His name? Steve Harvey. You will hear from him later in this episode, but he definitely didn't look before he leaped, but thankfully had the persistence to stick it out. It worked out rather well for him, I guess, but even he will tell you it's not the jump strategy he would recommend. One of the questions Kim suggests really hit home for me. She says to ask yourself this: who else will my actions affect? I can't even tell you how many times I've thought about quitting my IT job to go all in on this podcast and coaching gig. It's where I feel I can make the biggest positive impact. But I'm in my 50s now, married with a 15-year-old son. I just can't take blind leaps of faith without considering how it would impact my family. Any big life change like that is going to ripple out and affect the people closest to me. As fired up as I am about this dream, I have to be smart about how I approach it. Insight number 2, raise your confidence. Quote, "Self-confidence is generated by the thoughts we think, our mindsets, and the actions we take. Interestingly, it's less about our actual ability to succeed as a task than it is about our belief in our ability to succeed. Confidence is the byproduct of previous performance, meaning if you create patterns in your life that allow you to try challenging experiences, do well, and build up memories of your successes, those memories will fill up your confidence tank. So, in advance of your big jump, set up a series of smaller jumps. Prove to yourself that you can do hard things, even if they are minor. End quote. Now that reminds me of wisdom from The Confidence Gap, where author Russ Harris says, quote, "The actions of confidence come first. The feelings of confidence come later." End quote. If we all waited around until we felt completely confident, we'd never end up doing much of anything. That's just procrastination in disguise. The real courage is taking that first step before you're ready. Once you start putting one foot in front of the other, that's when the self-assurance builds. Here's more wisdom from Darren Donnelly and his great book, The Turnaround. Quote, "Better effort leads to better attitude, and a better attitude fuels better effort. It's a self-perpetuating cycle. That's why the harder you work, the more confident you will get. And the more confident you get, the harder you will work. This work-to-confidence cycle makes you virtually unstoppable." End quote. Insight number 3. Been rejected lately? Quote, "As my experience proved, harnessing rejection doesn't have to mean experiencing one giant smack in the face and revisiting your life in response. It can be a slow burn, a project, or ongoing experience where you build up your tolerance to smaller rejections so they aren't as scary when they pop up." Entrepreneur Jia Zhang tried this out and spoke about his experience in a TED Talk saying, quote, "Rejection therapy was this game invented by this Canadian entrepreneur. His name is Jason Comley, and basically the idea is for 30 days you go out and look for rejection, and every day you get rejected at something, and then by the end, you desensitize yourself from the pain." End quote. Okay, so this is a pretty wild way to tackle one of the biggest fears that stops people from taking that entrepreneurial leap, the fear of rejection. You know, hearing no way more often than yes when you're trying to get something off the ground. Zhang's approach was creative, I'll give him that. He basically went out of his way to get rejected. Like straight up asking strangers for $100 or trying to get random professors to let him teach their college classes. Can you imagine? Just putting yourself out there to be turned down over and over again. One rejection idea that crossed my mind, mostly as a joke, but who knows, I might actually try this, is going to a fast food place and asking for a burger refill. You know how they'll give you free drink refills? Well, I thought, why not just expand that to the burgers too? If they inevitably shut that down, I could double down and ask for a free fries refill while I'm at it. Boom, 2 rejections for the price of 1 visit. Insight number 4, the when-then trap. Quote, "If you're someone who worries about being fully ready and completely prepared to make a decision, you might use the when-then trap as an excuse to procrastinate and avoid action. When I lose 5 pounds, then I'll be ready to start dating. When I retire, then I'll pursue my passion. When I have saved up $10,000, then I will launch my own business." The majority of time, we create these contingencies because we're scared of taking a jump. As a rule, stop rain checking on what will make you feel most fulfilled. End quote. The when-then excuse has got to be one of the most common ways we deceive ourselves and avoid taking action. I know I've fallen into this trap more times than I want to count. Like just recently, I kept telling myself I'll start my podcast when I retire from my current job. Yep, I used that excuse for at least a year because people warned me that podcasting is a ton of work, way more than you think. And sure, that's true. It is a huge time commitment. But you know what? I finally realized my job wasn't actually the roadblock here. I was just hiding behind a when-then to avoid putting myself out there and fearing the changes I would need to make in my life to allow me to start and stick with a podcast. If no immediate when-then came to mind for you while listening, take a pause for a second and really think about it. I bet if you look closely, you can pinpoint something you're passionate about pursuing, but have been putting it off without some version of the when-then rationalization. Insight number 5, the 40-70 rule. Quote, "In my experience, being 70% ready is plenty, and I'm not alone in thinking this way. Former U.S. Secretary of State Colin Powell is a big fan of the 40-70 rule, which says that you need no less than 40% and no more than 70% of the available information to make a good choice." End quote. Now, you know, the idea of needing more information before getting started might seem reasonable, but it's actually one of the biggest reasons people never take any action. We keep telling ourselves, I just need to research that a little bit more, or I'll feel ready once I learn everything there is to know about it. But really, we're just procrastinating. If you find yourself constantly waiting for more information, more data, more knowledge before diving in, you're not doing anything except wasting precious time. Insight number 6, 1-year succession plan. Quote, Depending on what you're trying to accomplish, a year can feel like an eternity or a heartbeat. In my opinion, a year is a useful yardstick for most jumps since it provides you with just enough leeway to prepare yourself and take action, but not so much that you'll end up spinning your wheels. Your 1-year success plan will be your secret weapon to navigating this new territory. And trust me, you need a plan. You wouldn't go into a forest without a map, and you shouldn't make a big jump without a plan. End quote. Alright, so this next part is basically the opposite approach to what Steve Harvey did when he took his big leap. I know I'd promised you'd hear from Steve soon, but let me just say, the man did not have a 1-year plan or anything resembling a strategy. Instead of winging it, Kim recommends mapping out a real plan to make your vision a reality. First, get crystal clear on your big picture dream. Where do you want to end up? Define that endpoint. Then work backwards to sketch out the key milestones needed to get there. Reverse engineer your dream into an actionable roadmap. Rather than quitting on a whim, you've put real thought into your path forward. Once you've mapped out your roadmap, Kim says to set deadlines to create some urgency. Get an accountability partner to keep you honest. Tackle the hardest tasks first while momentum is high, and celebrate wins along the way to sustain yourself. Deadlines, accountability, hard stuff first, savor victories. That's her recipe for executing on your vision 1 milestone at a time. Insight number 7. It's never too late. Quote, more and more people are looking for flexibility, freedom, and control over their time. We all want work that fuels our passion and gives life meaning. And it doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, or how old you are. You can bring those things into your life. Taking a jump is for anyone who wants to join the movement and has the guts to try. If you're over 40 and worried that you've missed your window for jumping, I'm here to tell you that window is still wide open. Don't let anyone tell you there's an expiration date on transformative change. End quote. You know, one of the things I really appreciate about Kim's book is how she doesn't just inspire you to chase your dreams. She actually gives you a roadmap for making it happen. Too often we get fired up by those follow your passion messages. But then we're kind of left hanging like, okay, but how? Where do I even start? Kim does such a great job providing that crucial next step. She breaks it down into an actual framework for turning your pipe dream into a concrete game plan with milestones to hit. Instead of just cheering from the sideline, she's rolling up her sleeves and showing you how to reverse engineer your vision into an executable reality. It's so refreshing and empowering. Final insight. Ready, set, jump. Quote, this is it. It's time to commit to getting started. It's time to begin. You need to go for it. Reject stagnation and jump. The first step you take will be intimidating, but I promise it makes the second easier, because a path leads to a path. Change is scary, and a life-altering jump is nothing to take lightly, but I don't want fear to stop you, and I don't want you to wait until you're no longer afraid. Instead, use that fear as fuel to transform your life. You truly do have the power to change any aspect of your life, no matter what might be holding you back. Feel the fear and do it anyway. Ready, set, jump. End quote. That wraps up the key insights from Kim Perell's book. Now I know the idea of radically changing course and chasing a bigger dream can be pretty unpalatable for most people. It takes a massive amount of courage to even entertain that possibility. But for those of you who've been teetering on the fence, wondering if it's really possible to make that shift, and looking for a clear pathway to get started, this book is for you. Kim breaks it down step by step in such an accessible way. Now, as promised, please enjoy Steve Harvey's motivational talk to give you that extra nudge to take that leap. I will close out today's episode with Steve's message. So before we hear from him, just a reminder to stay curious and keep embracing the wonders of knowledge. Here's Steve Harvey.
I'm going to share something with you. I'm going to tell you something that every successful person has to do, including you. Believe it or not, every successful person in this world has jumped. I'm going to tell you what I mean by that. You are going to have to jump. You cannot just exist in this life. You have got to try to live. If you are waking up thinking that there's got to be more to your life than it is, man, believe that it is. Believe in your heart of hearts that it is. But to get to that life, you're going to have to jump. I'll tell you why I call it jumping. See, God, when he created all of us, he gave every last one of us a gift at birth. He never created a soul without endowing them with a gift. You just got to quit looking at gifts as running, jumping, singing, dancing. It's more than that. It's if you know how to network, if you can connect dots, if you draw, if you teach. Some of y'all fry chicken better than anybody else, bake pie. Some of you cut hair, color hair. Some people do grass. I got a partner, man, never wanted to go out with us because we stayed out too late. Come on, man, go out with me. Now I got to get up early, Mom, cutting Miss Johnson's grass. We kept laughing at this dude, cutting grass. How much they pay you? He got a landscaping company in Cleveland worth $4 million. Because all he do is cut grass. But he was gifted at it. I got a partner on a detail shop, make $800,000 a year detailing cars. He got 6 mobile trucks running around. $800,000 a year. All he do is detail cars. That's his gift. That's what he loved to do. You've got to identify that gift. Now listen to me. When you see people in life, when you're standing on the cliff of life and you see people soaring by, when you see people soaring, going to exotic places, you hear about them doing wonderful things. Maybe you look up the street and your neighbor just gets a car every year, every 2 years. You know, how is he doing that? Have you ever thought, maybe this person right here has identified their gift and is living in their gift? Because your Bible says, your Bible says your gift will make room for you. Your gift, not your education. You go get an education, that's nice. But if you don't use your gift, that education only gonna take you so far, man. I know a lot of people got degrees, man. They ain't even using them. It's your gift. But the only way for you to soar is you got to jump. You got to take that gift that's packed away on your back. You got to jump off that cliff and pull that cord. That gift opens up and provides the soar. If you don't ever use it, you're going to just go to work. And if you're getting up going to work on a job every day that you hate going to, that ain't living, man. You just existing. At one point in time, you ought to see what living's like. But the only way to see what living like, you got to jump. And here's the problem. I'm going to just be real with you. When you first jump, let me tell you something. Your parachute will not open right away. I'm sorry. I wish I could tell you it did, but it don't. When you jump, it's not going to open right away. You're going to hit them rocks. You're going to get some skin tore off on them cliffs. You're going to get all your clothes tore off. You're going to get some cuts on you. You're going to be bleeding pretty bad. But eventually, the parachute has to open. That is a promise of God. That ain't a theory, that's a promise. His promises is true, because listen to me. You cannot name one single thing God has not gotten you through. Name it. And if he ain't got you through it, he currently pulling you through it right now. And the living proof of it is you sitting in here. If he hadn't got you through it, you wouldn't even be here. So if he ain't never not got you through it, why would he not let your parachute open? It has to open, man. But you got to jump, though. Now, here's another thing. You can play it safe and deal without the cuts and the tears. And you can stand on that cliff of life forever safe. But if you don't jump, I got another promise I can make you. Your parachute will never open. You'll never know. You'll never know what God really has for you. See, your God has a wonderful life for you. Once again, I'm going to refer to your Bible. Now, you go down there, you memorize these scriptures, you don't apply them to yourself. Your Bible says that he comes to give you life and give you life more abundantly. If I were you, I would jump. Because that's the only way to get to that abundant life. You got to jump, man. You got to take a chance. Now, when I get through talking, there are those of you who discuss this in the car. Well, I got bills, and I got bills. Whether you stay on the cliff or you jump, you're going to have bills. Well, if I quit my job, I'm going to ruin my credit. If you got a job, you live in check to check. Even if you got A1 credit, you can't buy nothing else, no damn way. At one point in time, man, do yourself a favor. Go see what God really do. God hold you up, man. He ain't gonna let you fall. He ain't bring you this far to let you fall. Do yourself a favor, man. Before you leave this world, before you die, jump. Just jump one time. Just jump. Thank you very much.
You've been listening to Philosopher Insights with your host, Herb Lamba. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to support the podcast, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.